Complex history. The present territory of Ukraine has a complex history and has been controlled by various groups throughout history. Some parts of present-day Ukraine were historically part of the Kievan Rus, a federation of Slavic tribes in the 9th and 10th centuries. Later, the area came under the control of the Mongol Empire, the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, the Russian Empire, and the Soviet Union. Since gaining independence in 1991, Ukraine has been a sovereign nation. The Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. The Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth was a federal state formed in 1569 by the Union of Lublin, which united the Kingdom of Poland and the Grand Duchy of Lithuania. It was one of the largest and most populous countries of 16th to 17th century Europe, covering an area of approximately 1 million square kilometers and with a population of approximately 11 million. The Commonwealth was ruled by a single monarch, but its political system was decentralized, with significant autonomy granted to the nobility and local authorities. The Commonwealth was dissolved in 1795 after being partitioned by its neighboring countries, Prussia, Russia, and Austria. Prussia was a historically prominent German state that existed from the 17th to the 20th century. It was originally a duchy centered in the region of Prussia, but later expanded to become a kingdom, and eventually a leading power in the German Confederation and the German Empire. It played a key role in the unification of Germany in the 19th century and was known for its strong military and efficient bureaucracy. The state of Prussia was dissolved after World War II, as part of the Allied occupation and post-war settlement of Germany. Prussia was a kingdom in Northern Europe that existed from 1701 to 1918. It included territories such as the Kingdom of Prussia, 1701 to 1918, the Duchy of Prussia, 1525 to 1701, the Margraviate of Brandenburg, 965-1525, Pomerania, Silesia, East Prussia, West Prussia, Saxony, Rhineland, Westphalia, parts of Poland and Lithuania. The area of present-day Kaliningrad used to be part of the Kingdom of Prussia. It had a mixed Polish, Lithuanian and German-speaking population. After the defeat of Nazi Germany at the end of World War II, the territory was ceded to Soviet Russia. Aside from a brief period of independence from 1918 to 1940, Lithuania was occupied by Russia beginning in 1795. Was controlled by Germany for a brief period during World War II, and was incorporated into the USSR in 1944 as one of its constituent republics. Crimea. Crimea was part of Russia before it was transferred to Ukraine in 1954. Prior to that, it had been part of the Russian Empire since the late 18th century. Crimea was transferred to Ukraine by the Soviet Union in 1954 by the decision of the Presidium of the Supreme Soviet of the Soviet Union. The transfer was made by a decree signed by Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev on February 19, 1954. The transfer was intended to commemorate the 300th anniversary of the Treaty of Presidium, which brought the region under Russian control. Crimea is a region located on the northern coast of the Black Sea and is currently administered by Russia. The official languages spoken in Crimea are Russian and Ukrainian. But there are also a number of minority languages spoken in the region, such as Crimean Tatar and Armenian. The majority of people in Crimea speak Russian. Belarus. Some of the territories of present-day Ukraine were historically part of Belarus. The exact borders of Belarus have changed throughout history, but at various times parts of present-day Ukraine, including the regions of Galicia, Volhynia, and Podolia, were part of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, and the Russian Empire, all of which included parts of what is now Belarus. Poland controlled parts of present-day Ukraine at various times in history. During the medieval period, the Kingdom of Poland and the Kievan Rus, a federation of Slavic tribes in present-day Ukraine, Russia, and Belarus, had a complex relationship, with the border between the two states fluctuating over time. In the late medieval and early modern period, Poland-Lithuania controlled much of present-day western Ukraine. through the Union of Lublin of 1569, which established a federal state called the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. The Commonwealth controlled the region until the partition of Poland in the late 18th century, when much of present-day Ukraine was annexed by the Russian Empire. Present-day Ukraine has a complex history of territorial changes and political divisions. Historically, parts of present-day Ukraine have been controlled by various empires and states, including the Grand Principality of Kiev, the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, the Russian Empire, the Soviet Union, and independent Ukraine. During the period of the Russian Empire and the Soviet Union, Ukraine was part of the Russian Empire and the Soviet Union, respectively. After the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991, Ukraine gained independence and became a separate sovereign state. Slav is a term used to refer to a group of Indo-European peoples who speak Slavic languages, including Russians, Poles, Ukrainians, Czechs, and Bulgarians, among others. They are primarily located in Eastern and Central Europe, and parts of North Asia. Russian-speaking people in Ukraine? According to a survey conducted by the International Republican Institute, approximately 42% of the population of Ukraine speaks Russian as their first language. However, it's important to note that the percentage of people who speak Russian in Ukraine can vary depending on the region and demographic group. According to the 2001 Ukrainian census, the majority of the population, about 67%, speaks Ukrainian as their first language, while about 29% of the population speaks Russian as their first language. Other languages spoken in Ukraine include Romanian, Polish, and Hungarian. The majority of the population in Ukraine speaks Ukrainian, which is an East Slavic language. Russian, Romanian, Polish, and Hungarian are also spoken by minority groups in the country. Additionally, some smaller minority languages, such as Crimean Tatar and Bulgarian, are also spoken. As of 2021, the estimated population of Ukraine is about 42.5 million people. However, it's important to note that population numbers can change over time due to factors such as births, deaths, and migration. Orthodox Church: there are people in Ukraine who follow the Russian Orthodox Church. The Russian Orthodox Church is one of the largest branches of Eastern Orthodox Christianity, and it has a significant presence in Ukraine. However, there are also many other religious denominations present in Ukraine, including the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, Kyiv Patriarchate, the Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church, and various Protestant denominations. Now Ukraine and Russia have separate branches of the Orthodox Church. The Ukrainian Orthodox Church is not under the jurisdiction of the Russian Orthodox Church, and the two churches have separate hierarchies and structures. Additionally, there are also a significant number of Greek Catholic and Roman Catholic followers in Ukraine. Slav people. The term Slav refers to a group of Indo-European peoples who speak Slavic languages and share similar cultural and historical characteristics. The Slavic peoples are divided into three main branches: East Slavs, Russian, Ukrainian, and Belarusian; West Slavs, Polish, Czech, and Slovak; and South Slavs, Bulgarian, Macedonian, and Serbian. While there is a certain degree of cultural and linguistic similarity among the Slavic peoples, they are not a single ethnic group and have distinct national identities. While they share certain cultural and linguistic similarities, Slavic people are diverse and have their own unique customs and traditions. They are not fundamentally different from other Europeans, but they have a distinct culture and history. In terms of physical characteristics, there is no distinct difference between Slavic people and other Europeans. Eastern Europeans are a diverse group of people, comprising many different ethnicities. Some of the major ethnic groups in Eastern Europe include Poles, Russians, Ukrainians, Belarusians, Czechs, Slovaks, Hungarians, Romanians, Bulgarians, and Croatians, among others. Each group has its own distinct culture, history, and traditions. Ethnicity. The ethnic makeup of Western Europe is diverse and complex. The main ethnic groups in Western Europe are Caucasians of various nationalities, such as German, French, British, Spanish, and Italian. Other significant ethnic groups include people of African descent, people of Asian descent, and people of Middle Eastern descent. Additionally, there are also minority groups such as Romani people and various indigenous peoples. The exact composition of the population can vary depending on the specific country or region within Western Europe. Russians versus other Europeans. There have been a number of historical conflicts and differences between Russians and Europeans. One major source of tension has been territorial disputes, as Russia and various European powers have sought control over land and resources throughout history. Another major source of conflict has been ideological differences, as Russia has often been seen as a more authoritarian and centralized state compared to many European countries. Additionally, religious differences have also played a role, with Russia historically being an Orthodox Christian country, while many European countries have been predominantly Catholic or Protestant. The Cold War between the Soviet Union and Western Europe also caused significant tension. There have been historical conflicts between the Russian Orthodox Church and both Catholics and Protestants in Europe. These conflicts have been primarily religious in nature, but have also been influenced by political and cultural factors. One example of this is the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth's suppression of the Orthodox Church in the late 16th and early 17th centuries. Additionally, during the Soviet era, the Russian Orthodox Church faced persecution and suppression by the state. Russian-speaking people in Ukraine have faced some hardships, particularly in the aftermath of the 2014 Ukrainian Revolution and the ongoing conflict in eastern Ukraine. The revolution led to a change in government and a shift in official language policy, which some Russian speakers felt marginalized them. Additionally, the ongoing conflict in eastern Ukraine has resulted in violence, displacement, and economic disruption, affecting both Ukrainian and Russian-speaking communities. Ukrainian economy. The main contributing factors to the Ukrainian economy include agriculture, heavy industry, such as steel and coal production, and services, such as transportation and finance. Additionally, Ukraine is a major transit country for Russian natural gas to Europe, which also contributes to the economy. However, the country has faced challenges in recent years, including political instability, corruption, and conflicts with Russia. These challenges have hindered economic growth and development. The main food crops produced in Ukraine include wheat, corn, barley, sunflower seeds, and sugar beets. Other important crops include rye, oats, potatoes, and various types of fruits and vegetables. Nuclear reactors. As of 2021, Ukraine operates 15 nuclear reactors at 4 power plants, which generate about half of the country's electricity. The main nuclear power plants in Ukraine are the South Ukraine Nuclear Power Plant, the Zaporizhzhia Nuclear Power Plant, the Rivne Nuclear Power Plant and the Chmelyanitsky Nuclear Power Plant. The country also has plans to expand its nuclear power capacity in the future, including the construction of new reactors at existing power plants and the development of new nuclear power plants. However, the exact status of these projects is subject to change based on political and economic developments. The aviation industry in Ukraine has a long history and has been a significant contributor to the country's economy. Ukraine has a number of major airports and several airlines, including Ukraine International Airlines, which is the country's flagship carrier. However, the industry has faced challenges in recent years, including political and economic instability, as well as safety concerns. In addition, the COVID-19 pandemic has had a significant impact on the aviation industry worldwide, and Ukraine is no exception. Despite these challenges, the industry continues to grow and develop, with ongoing efforts to improve infrastructure, safety, and service. The strength of Ukraine's army can be difficult to measure, as it depends on various factors such as the availability of funding, equipment, and training. However, in general, Ukraine has a large military force with around 250,000 active troops and reservists. The Ukrainian military has undergone modernization and reform in recent years, but it still faces challenges such as a lack of modern equipment and ongoing conflict with Russia in the eastern regions of the country. The strength of Ukraine's air force is currently limited, as many of its aircraft are outdated and in need of modernization. However, the Air Force has been undergoing a process of modernizing. and re-equipping in recent years, with the goal of improving its capabilities. Some of the new aircraft that the Air Force had acquired included the Antonov An-178 transport plane, the Il-39 Ing jet trainer, and the MiG-29 fighter jets. Despite having some newer equipment, the overall number of aircraft in Ukraine's Air Force is relatively small and is considered to be not very strong. The strength of the Ukrainian Navy is relatively small. It has a total of around 35 ships and submarines, including several missile boats, a few coastal defense ships, and a single frigate. The Navy also has a number of smaller vessels such as patrol boats and amphibious landing ships. Its capabilities are primarily focused on coastal defense and control of the country's territorial waters. However, the Navy has been affected by the ongoing conflict in eastern Ukraine, with several of its ships being seized by Russia during the annexation of Crimea in 2014. The conflict between Ukraine and Russia began in 2014, when Russia annexed Crimea, a region in eastern Ukraine. Since then, fighting has erupted in eastern Ukraine between Ukrainian military forces and Russian-backed separatists, leading to thousands of deaths and the displacement of 1.4 million people. The conflict is ongoing and has escalated in recent months. The situation has also been exacerbated by historical and cultural differences between the two countries, and disputes over trade and energy. NATO and Ukraine. NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, is a military alliance of countries from North America and Europe. It is not directly involved in the ongoing conflict between Ukraine and Russia. However, the alliance's expansion eastward, including the inclusion of former Soviet republics, such as Ukraine and Georgia, has been a source of tension between NATO and Russia. Russia views NATO's expansion as a threat to its security, and some experts believe that this has contributed to the flare-up of hostilities between Russia and Ukraine. Additionally, the provision of military aid to Ukraine by NATO countries has also been a point of contention in the conflict. As of 2021, there are 30 member countries in NATO. As of 2021, the Secretary-General of NATO is Jens Stoltenberg, who hails from Norway. After 1990, the following countries have joined NATO: Poland, Hungary, and the Czech Republic in 1999. Bulgaria, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Romania, Slovakia, and Slovenia in 2004. Albania and Croatia in 2009. Montenegro in 2017. North Macedonia in 2020. Some major political events that took place in Ukraine from 1990 include the following. In 1991, Ukraine declared its independence from the Soviet Union. In 1994, Leonid Kuchma was elected as President of Ukraine. In 1999, the Ukrainian parliament approved a new constitution that strengthened the powers of the presidency. Leonid Kuchma was the President of Ukraine from 1994 to 2005. During his time in office, he sought to balance Ukraine's relations with Russia and the West, rather than aligning himself exclusively with one side or the other. He sought to strengthen economic ties with Russia, but also worked to integrate Ukraine into European structures like the Council of Europe and the World Trade Organization. However, some events during his presidency, such as the murder of journalist Georgy Gongadze, have been criticized as showing a tendency to lean towards Russia. Viktor Yanukovych, who served as president of Ukraine from 2010 to 2014, was considered to have pro-Russian views. He campaigned on a platform of closer ties with Russia, and during his presidency, he sought to strengthen Ukraine's relationship with Russia and the Russian-led Eurasian Customs Union. He also rejected a trade agreement with the European Union and instead pursued closer economic ties with Russia. This led to the Euromaidan protests, and eventually to his ousting from the office. In 2004, the Orange Revolution took place, a series of protests and political events sparked by allegations of widespread voter fraud in the presidential election. Viktor Yushchenko emerged as the victor of a rerun of the election. The Orange Revolution was a series of protests and political events that took place on Ukrainian elections in the 2004 presidential election. The elections, which was marked by widespread allegations of voter fraud and misconduct, was initially won by the candidate supported by the government, Viktor Yanukovych. However, following a massive campaign of civil resistance, the Ukrainian Supreme Court ordered a rerun of the election, which was won by the opposition candidate, Viktor Yushchenko. The Orange Revolution was named for the orange color of the campaign materials used by Yushchenko's supporters. The events of the Orange Revolution led to the reversal of the election results and the installation of Yushchenko as president of Ukraine. Viktor Yushchenko was a Ukrainian politician who served as the president of Ukraine from 2005 to 2010. He was considered to be a pro-Western leader, as he advocated for Ukraine's integration into Western institutions such as the European Union and NATO. During his presidency, Yushchenko also sought to improve relations with the United States and other Western countries. He also sought to strengthen Ukraine's ties with the European Union and NATO. In 2010, Viktor Yanukovych was elected as president of Ukraine. In 2013 to 2014, the Euromaidan protests took place, leading to the ousting of President Yanukovych and the election of President Petro Poroshenko. Minsk Agreement. The Minsk Agreement is a set of measures aimed at resolving the conflict in eastern Ukraine, signed on February 12, 2015 in the Belarusian capital, Minsk. The agreement was reached between the Ukrainian government and pro-Russian separatists, with the support of Germany and France. The key provisions of the Minsk Agreement include ceasefire and withdrawal of heavy weapons, constitutional reform in Ukraine to give certain areas of the Donetsk and Luhansk regions more autonomy, amnesty for combatants, release of all hostages and illegally detained persons, guaranteed access for international monitoring organizations, renewal of economic and social ties, including between Ukraine and the separatist regions, local elections in the separatist regions under Ukrainian law. The implementation of the Minsk Agreement has been slow and uneven, and sporadic violence continues in the region. However, it remains the basis for diplomatic efforts to resolve the conflict. In 2019, Volodymyr Zelensky was elected as president of Ukraine. Minsk Agreement was only used by Ukraine and NATO to strengthen their defense preparedness. The marginalization of Russian-speaking population and security threat posed to Russia through the expansion of NATO are major provocations. The undeclared conflict, which started effectively in 2014 in the east, took the shape of special military operation by Russia during February 2022. The Russian-Ukraine conflict has to be looked into by keeping such a complex background into consideration.